The Jedi once numbered in the thousands. What's left are a scattered, frightened lot, mostly beaten and in hiding, or poorly trained children like yourself.
Welcome back, everyone. This is The Way. The Mandalorian just debuted Grand Admiral Thrawn and the Empire's Shadow Council and introduced a bunch of teasers for their Thrawn movie based on Heir to the Empire and the original Thrawn book trilogy from the 90s. And a big part of that is Thrawn's interest in the Force in the Jedi, like the big Force-sensitive characters in the show like Luke Skywalker, Grogu, Ahsoka. So I'll explain why he wants them so bad and how his plans for the Jedi, the Force users, are so different from what Moff Gideon's plans for Grogu and all the others were, as well as the other members of the Shadow Council, because the next big part of the story, The Mandalorian Season 4, the Thrawn movie, the Ahsoka series, is all about explaining all the different members of the Shadow Council and how they have competing ideas about what they should use all the Jedi for.
Grand Admiral Thrawn is missing from your delegation.
Our one hope for success relies upon the secrecy of his return.
But Thrawn is their de facto leader right now. He's more important than all the other Imperials, and Thrawn himself doesn't really care that much about the other members of the Shadow Council. He kind of thinks of them as squabbling children, just tools to be used in the execution of his grand plans for the galaxy. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. The Mandalorian Season 3 finale is happening this week. I'll also be doing videos for the Ahsoka series next. It's only the beginning. During the recent episodes of The Mandalorian, Thrawn was mentioned by the Shadow Council. We had some teasers for his character, and they teased the idea that Moff Gideon also hates him, like this whole Thrawn versus Moff Gideon competing plan. Each one thinks themselves the leaders of the Shadow Council, like Moff Gideon wants to replace Thrawn as their de facto leader. They implied that since the events of Return of the Jedi, up to this point, Thrawn has been the de facto leader of the Shadow Council, but he barely cares about the other members enough to show up for their regular galaxy-wide Skype meetings. Like, that's how little he cares about the rest of the Shadow Council. He views himself as the next de facto face of the Empire after the death of the Emperor, the official heir to the Empire, as the title of the book in the Thrawn trilogy.
About Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
He has his own grand plan for the galaxy. The Jedi are a huge part of those plans. He wants Grogu, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, Ezra Bridger, the other Jedi, just as much as Moff Gideon wanted them, but for completely different reasons. Moff Gideon just confirmed all of our theories. His whole plan for them was to combine the greatest aspects of the Mandalorians, their Beskar metal, weapons, armor, with Grogu's connection to the Force, his ultra-high midichlorian count, and Dr. Pershing's cloning technology to combine all the greatest aspects of them to create the ultimate next-generation Dark Trooper clones that would be Force-sensitive and nearly indestructible.
Every society has something to offer. The cloners, the Jedi, and even the Mandalorians.
He planned to use those new Dark Troopers to dominate the galaxy with an unbeatable army. Thrawn also wants to control the galaxy, like he wants a strong army. Yes, that's important to him, but he doesn't care as much about grafting Grogu, Luke Skywalker, Jedi, Force-sensitive DNA into his own clone army. The reason he cares about the Jedi is because he sees their value as much, much greater than what Moff Gideon sees in them. There are a lot of clues for his plans for the Force during Star Wars Rebels, during the Ahsoka trailer, when you see him start to talk more and more about the power of the Jedi and how he felt like they died out because they had a lack of vision of how to use their power.
The Jedi once numbered in the thousands. What's left are a scattered, frightened lot, mostly beaten and in hiding, or poorly trained children like yourself. I must admit, the mysteries of the Force are an enigma to me. But for all those abilities, all the power, the Jedi lacked the vision for how to wield it.
When he's telling Ezra Bridger that he thinks the Jedi wielded this grand cosmic power but lacked the vision to know what to actually do with it, he's talking about the world between worlds, which was obviously a big plot point during Star Wars Rebels, and sounds like it's going to be a big plot point during the Ahsoka series and heading into the Heir to the Empire Thrawn movie. The world between worlds was a place that Dave Filoni created during Star Wars Rebels. It was new to the canon during Rebels, meant to be a nexus in the Force connected to all points in time and space, kind of like a pocket dimension made up of pure Force energy, a space kind of like the Mortis realm where the Father, the Son, and the Daughter Force beings existed. When Ezra Bridger was able to enter the world between worlds to yoink Ahsoka from earlier in the timeline when she was fighting Darth Vader in the Sith Temple, great scene. She also saw the Force Owl, which is the daughter's aspect. Like the daughter itself was actually looking at her while they were in the world between worlds. So the space is also somewhat connected to the Mortis realm. And a big part of the Mortis realm, as well as the world between worlds, is that just anybody can't walk into it. Like you can't find the door. Even very powerful Jedi haven't been able to find it in the past. Dave Filoni already said that the Ahsoka series is like an honorary sequel to Star Wars Rebels, so everything that happened during Rebels is still canon in live action now in the timeline. Will drive some of the events of the Ahsoka series, the Thrawn movie, what's happening with Thrawn's story just in general in this part of the timeline. Before Ezra Bridger used the Purgles, the space whales we just saw in The Mandalorian, the Ahsoka trailer, to take Thrawn, the 7th Fleet, into the unknown regions, Thrawn had been collecting Jedi and Sith artifacts. They showed his office a lot during Rebels. In the background, you can see the Salamiri on his mural here. Those were the lizards from the original Heir to the Empire Thrawn trilogy books that had the natural ability to create force-canceling area of effects around a person. So he'd use them to basically cancel out all the Jedi's powers when he was interacting with them. You can see that he has a Jedi Temple Guardian helmet here. He's been studying the Mortis gods, the father, the son, the daughter, as well as the Mortis realm and the world between worlds. That's where the mural was found at the entrance to the world between worlds. So he's had these ideas about how to use the world between worlds for a long time, even though at this point in the timeline when we're seeing this scene, the Emperor was still alive because it was before Return of the Jedi. So the Emperor had his own interest in controlling the world between worlds, but Thrawn always hated the Emperor, that's still canon, and had his own plans for the galaxy. So during present day, while the Emperor's spirit is waylaid in limbo, so to speak, Thrawn has the opportunity to pursue his own true goals. As far as Dave Filoni explained during Star Wars Rebels, only the light side Jedi or neutral characters like the Bendu in the Force can enter the world between worlds. As far as we know, the Sith can't enter, and this actually plays into what's happening during the Ahsoka series, so I'll explain in a second, because there's a difference between pure Sith characters or other Jedi that just bend a little bit dark but aren't true dark Sith. The Bendu is a good example of this just because he wields both the dark side and the light side, so he is technically true neutral. So in order for someone who's not Force sensitive or for a Sith, like a pure evil Sith, to enter the world between worlds, they'd have to get a light side Jedi or someone neutral like the Bendu to actually physically take them into the world between worlds, like Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, Grogu, Ezra Bridger. And Thrawn wants to use the world between worlds to bring his own idea of order to the galaxy, like his idea for peace, with the true goal of protecting his people, the Chiss, which has been his goals this whole time. Once the Emperor learned of their existence in the unknown regions, Thrawn actually surrendered to the Emperor under the pretense that he would serve him if he left the Chiss alone. The Chiss were also threatened by other major races in the unknown regions. The Grisk are a good example of that in the more recent Thrawn stories, if you're a big fan of the Thrawn books. So if you're trying to bring order to the galaxy, the world between worlds is the ultimate way to accomplish that, the most efficient way possible, because using it, you could send armies anywhere in time and space instantly. Star Wars meets time travel. You could put down rebellions, any kind of pirates, chaos, warlike species, anywhere in the galaxy before they actually happen, the ultimate order brought to the galaxy. But Thrawn can't gain access to this place without Grogu's help, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, Ezra Bridger. Someone would actually have to take him in there and then continue to open the barrier when he wanted to send armies in, so he'd have to have a Jedi working with him. He can't simply pull them off Gideon and dissect them for their DNA. Just having Jedi DNA high midichlorian count doesn't guarantee you'll be able to enter the world between worlds. The Cosmic Force, the Living Force, have to let you in, which is one of the reasons why just in the history of the galaxy itself, the history of the Jedi and the Sith, very few people, if any, had ever been able to enter the world between worlds. It was meant to be a legend in the Force, passed down for many thousands of years. When Ezra Bridger entered it, it was meant to be a huge deal, like the first time it happened in recorded history as far as people knew. It's the same thing with Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka entering the Mortis realm, like one of the first times it had ever happened that people knew of. Because the Force itself, like the Cosmic Force, the Living Force, allowed them to enter. This is why the Emperor, other ancient Sith, haven't been able to enter it before now. And as Thrawn told Ezra Bridger, this is canon too, he never wanted to kill anyone, least of all the Jedi. That was never his goal. Thrawn's superpower is his mind. He's the greatest military commander in the history of the galaxy. So all of his plans are superior to every other person's plan in the galaxy, so of course he'd have a better idea to manage the galaxy than the New Republic, which they've shown to be pretty ineffectual and actually pretty bad during The Mandalorian Season 3. They really want to drag the New Republic in the mud during Season 3 here. So Thrawn has been trying to get his hands on any Jedi that he can and convince them his way of thought is the superior way for the galaxy, which is one of the main reasons why in the Ahsoka trailer, those new Dark Jedi, Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, are in league with Thrawn. Because we're talking about Heir to the Empire, the original Thrawn trilogy Easter eggs and references, Baylan Skoll is meant to be the stand-in for the Joruus C'baoth character in the original Thrawn trilogy. The Jedi Master that he forms an agreement with, neither one kind of likes each other. In the way Ray Stevenson talked about Thrawn's character and his character during the Ahsoka series, it sounds like that will continue to be true in present day with these versions of the characters. Like Baylan Skoll is working with him only out of necessity, not because he enjoys Thrawn's company or anything like that. So just to be clear, Thrawn does want Grogu, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, all those Force-sensitive characters, but not because he wants to kill them or he wants to get rid of them or anything like that. He wants to convince them that his path forward for the galaxy is the best path, and for them to help him. That's why during the Ahsoka trailer, it seems like Baylan Skoll is fighting Ahsoka in a Jedi temple with symbols around them that makes it seem like they're in the world between worlds, or they're trying to enter the world between worlds. We'll get a bunch more teasers as we get more footage for the Ahsoka series, and The Mandalorian sort of teases out what's happening during Season 4 and how this is all connected to what Thrawn is doing. I'll start doing more videos about that specifically when they start revealing more things. If you have any big questions about what's going on with the characters or just any of the characters in general, just write them below in the comments. I've got a bunch of bonus videos that I'm working on. My full Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 8 finale video will post next. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everyone click here for that video and click here for my brand new Ahsoka trailer with a bunch of footage that they didn't release online. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. This is The Way.